Steve. I think you're taking my information. Anyway, the Constitution doesn't give you any rights. If you go into court and demand your constitutional rights, you're going to get every one you got coming, which is absolutely zero. The Constitution is the people's construction of the government. It tells the government what it can and cannot do. It governs the government, not the people.
Very good.
And if you don't know what your rights are, you don't have any rights. And if you don't demand your rights, you don't have any rights. And know your rights before you pick your fights. And I'm sorry, I told you I wasn't going to take the mic today, but I just couldn't.
Anytime you want to argue, anytime you want to fight, we'll set up the ring. Don't turn your back on me. No, that's exactly right. And this is important for us to understand. The Constitution doesn't, I use this term all the time, constitutional rights. But do rights really come from the Constitution? Of course not. Right? These rights that we're talking about are inalienable rights. And the reason why they're in our Constitution is for what purpose? Not to remind the people that the rights exist, is to ensure that the government recognizes them. And our founding fathers, when they went about putting our First Amendment, speech, assembly, religion, petition of the government for redress of grievances and the press. And then the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And then the Third and Fourth Amendment talking about the sanctity of the home. And the Fifth Amendment, certain procedural due process rights, as well as the Sixth Amendment. And the Eighth Amendment speaking to cruel and unusual punishment. Right? It's outlining certain rights that we all have. What is done for the purpose of ensuring that the government recognizes that that's what they're supposed to protect. Well, that's it. That's what you're supposed to protect. And then again, the Ninth Amendment says, you know what? Not all inalienable rights are outlined here. They're just not. And in case we forgot one or decided not to put it here, they still exist. They still exist. I'm going to show you the natural law in our Constitution. Are you ready for this? The First Amendment says this. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Natural law is written all over that. What's the most important word in that phrase? Freedom? No law? That's two words. Cheat. Shall? Abridge? Oh, we've almost got the entire amendment. Here's the most important word. The is the most important word in that amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Why? The Founding Fathers recognized that they were writing about something that pre-existed them. It pre-existed government. And as we write this, all we're acknowledging is that the right exists. The freedom of speech. The freedom of assembly. The free exercise of religion. The right to bear arms. Right? Is recognizing rights that already existed. The very structure of the sentence tells you that they understood we weren't giving you anything. We're simply recognizing as we write this document that the right exists. And government, you have an obligation to protect those rights. Watch this. Thomas Jefferson, the red-haired wonder, 33 years old, writes the greatest declaration of human rights and human liberty in the history of the world. And he tells us what the philosophy of government is. Let me ask you first. What is the philosophy of government? What is this philosophy? What is our philosophy? As you look at our Constitution, what is it supposed to do? Secure the rights, okay? Watch this. I hear some people whispering. Okay? Represent the people. You know, Thomas Jefferson outlines the philosophy of government in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal. And that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among those being life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the philosophy of our government. That is the very reason why government exists. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That is, not opinions, not ideas, not cute little theories or a hypothesis. These are self-evident. We don't need to argue about them. And where do they come from? Jefferson tells us. We're endowed by our Creator with these inalienable rights. Government doesn't give us this. Other people don't give us this. come from God. They come from a creator. And what are those rights? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And then it tells us the next sentence. So there's your philosophy of government. And what does it tell us the very next sentence? It tells us the purpose of government. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's the government's purpose. To secure these rights that we just talked about, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men. That's it. And yet we look at our government today and it's so bloated. And all the things that it does is ask, and you can ask any government official. 99% of them will not be able to tell you this. Tell me what your purpose is as a government official. Yeah, it's to make sure you're safe. Yeah, to a certain degree, but that's not their primary function. Right? It's to take your money and give it to other people. No, that's not it either. All right? The primary function was? All right, there we go again, Wes. Wes, do I have to set you straight again? I mean, I've already hung you twice today. No. Okay, very good. We'll use Wes for the sake of time. But there was a saying that I learned in law school. De minimis non curat lex. No need to fight over trivia. I'm sorry, okay, Wes. Just relax. This government representative, his job is to do what?
Serve the people.
Serve the people, and how does he serve the people first and foremost? Protecting the rights of the people. That is his first job up front. And if a government official cannot tell you what the purpose of government is and what the purpose of the Constitution is, it's time to go back to the drawing board, because quite frankly, we need to run these people off. They should not be running for office. What I am asking for, as the Academy moves throughout the country, is this. We need to start having candidates that understand the document just as well as the people who wrote it, and can articulate the principles just as well as the people who wrote it, and can understand the structure, overall structure of the Constitution just as well as the people who put it in place, who understand unalienable liberties just as well as the people who recognize that those things existed. That's what we need. That's how we start this revolution, if you will, when we start this revival, is getting first us educated, and then ensuring that we have candidates that come in that are educated just the same, and that can go in and protect the rights of all people. Because what we're seeing in D.C. and throughout all levels of government, from local dog catcher all the way up to the president, is nothing more than a reflection of the people. It is. It's nothing more than a mirror of the people. How in the world do we expect, as a population who doesn't understand the Constitution, to mandate that individuals who are representing us do? Right? It's hard to hold them accountable if we don't understand what we're holding them accountable to. So we have a Republican form of government. We have the protection of certain rights, and that Republican government is designed to do just that. We have the separation of powers and division of authority. And Len mentioned that. He stole my thunder on this. I was so excited to talk to you about this. But it talks about how Christ is the lawgiver, he's the king, and he's the judge. Three branches of government. You have one perfect individual who is able to adjudicate the affairs of man. And yet what we've done is said, you know what, we don't have anybody perfect. So what we're going to do as we go about adjudicating, we're going to separate the power and divide authority. Why? Because we look historically, whether it's biblically or reading just history, what tends to happen when you give individuals power? They will abuse it. They will corruption. And how will they obtain more power? Trampling the rights of the people. And as they trample those rights, they have more power, and now they're the king. Right? They decide how you're going to live your lives. If you've ever read Plato's Republic, or Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, or Sir Thomas More's Utopia, that tells us exactly what we don't want to be. You read John Locke, right? And you read what our founders ultimately adopted. It's difficult to read that and not recognize that God's hands is in this document, in this Constitution. The idea of protecting everybody. Allow the individual to be responsible for his own actions. Government, as you go about implementing that which you do, protect the rights. 3, as you go about doing these things, we're going to separate power. We're going to make sure that one man doesn't get out all the power. So we're going to divide it up.